So, remember last year Kenya's Gen Z turned the streets into a massive TikTok dance against the finance bill? The hashtags were flying faster than matatus in Nairobi traffic. Reject Finance Bill 2024 trended worldwide. For a minute, it felt like the youth rewrote the rules of the game. The government looked like a deer in headlights. Very loud, very online, very determined generation. Pressure got immense. President Ruto had to do something big, something dramatic. He went on TV. You know what? You're right. I'm firing almost everyone. Political rage quit, throwing the controller. For a hot second, it felt like a real victory. A total system reset. People celebrated. Finally, a clean slate. But then, something funny happened. Dust settled. Headlines faded. Some of those same fired ministers started reappearing. Cartoon, politician thrown out one door and walking back in a revolving door. Like a magician's trick. Vanished card back in the deck. One by one, familiar faces quietly invited back. Maybe a different title. Maybe a slightly smaller office. They were back. Not a restart. More like a frozen laptop. You hit refresh, hoping it fixes the problem. But all the same old tabs reload. A masterclass in political recycling. Firing everyone looks great on camera. It's a powerful move, bringing them back slowly. The quiet part. Like breaking up in a public post, then seeing them again weeks later, hoping nobody notices. Problematic apps moved to a miscellaneous folder instead of deleted. Youth shook the tree. Coconuts fell. The system picked them up, put them back on the shelf, maybe with a new price tag. Tough lesson for newly awakened youth. Changing players doesn't always change the game, especially when old players have the rulebook memorized. Ruto's team looked like they were listening, while keeping the core power structure untouched. Brilliant, if cynical, maneuver. Calmed the storm without fundamental changes to the crew. Gen Z activists winning a battle doesn't mean you won the war. The system updated its software to handle protest pop-ups. Let's be clear, blocking that finance bill in 2024 was a massive win. David versus Goliath. David with a smartphone. Goliath. A spreadsheet of proposed taxes. Bread, data bundles. A leaderless, decentralized movement, powered by social media, powered by sheer audacity. It could force the hand of the state. They organized, they marched, they documented everything. They made the world watch. They deserve the credit. A generation realized their voice could challenge power. Score one for the kids. But after the confetti, reality hit. Bigger monsters still lurked. Corruption didn't leave. It's still there, like a relative who overstays and eats your food, uses your Wi-Fi. Billions of shillings go missing. Public projects overpriced. Who you know trumps what you know. The protests shone a light. Systemic fumigation hasn't happened. Police brutality remains an issue. The force that cracked down is still a problem. The movement became a cry for justice for those who faced intimidation, violence, or worse, reports of excessive force, attacks on activists and bloggers continue. The state's response still too often, tear gas, batons, not dialogue. A grim reminder, youth changed the conversation, but the state's violent grammar stayed the same. And the economy, don't forget, cost of living is sky high. Price of unga, price of fuel, price of electricity. Young people are still struggling to find jobs, pay rent, build a future. The protest was fueled by economic pain. That pain is still daily reality for millions. The revolution isn't a one-time event. It's a long, grinding journey to fix a mountain of problems. The initial victory was the first step of a very steep hill. The hashtags were the easy part. The headaches came next. In most functioning democracies, you have the government, and then you have the opposition. The opposition's job is to keep the government in check, to ask tough questions, to be the official party pooper. But in Kenya, something strange happened after the Gen Z protests. The main political parties looked at each other and basically said, hey, instead of fighting, Why don't we just all be friends? And just like that, a government of national unity. It's like if the Avengers and Thanos decided to just call a truce and co-manage the universe. This political merger left Kenya with a very peculiar problem. The official opposition became an endangered species. It's almost extinct. The role once filled by seasoned politicians with motorcades and press conferences was suddenly vacant. And who stepped into that vacuum? You guessed it. The youth on TikTok and X, formerly Twitter. The interns running the company because all the senior managers decided to go play golf together. This new political landscape is both hilarious and terrifying. On one hand, it exposes how flimsy political ideologies can be. Politicians who were calling each other names just a year ago are now sharing samosas at state functions, proving there are no permanent enemies, only permanent interests. They switch teams faster than a European soccer star chasing a bigger contract. This handshake politics, while promising stability, has created a democratic deficit. With no formal opposition to critique policy or offer alternatives, the government is essentially marking its own homework. Of course, this has made the youth's job even harder. They are not just fighting against bad policies anymore. They are fighting against a unified political class. When the entire establishment is on one side, protest can be dismissed as noise. Or worse, labeled as criminal. The young activists are now the only ones in the arena, while former gladiators sit together in the VIP box, cheering the same team. It's a lonely and dangerous place to be. So, here we are, a year later. The big question, has Kenya truly changed, or was it just a trend? The answer is, it's complicated. On one hand, the youth are more awake than ever. Crash course in civics, economics, activism, and they are not going back to sleep. They are organized, creative, relentlessly digital. A leaderless movement that can mobilize thousands in hours. This awakening is permanent. You can't put that genie back in the bottle. But the challenges are immense. The system is pushing back hard, from threatening to ban protest coverage to labeling online activists as anarchists and criminals. State-sponsored violence remains a constant threat, a brutal tool to instill fear and silence dissent. With the formal opposition co-opted, the youth stand largely alone against a monolithic structure. They have the passion and the numbers, but the establishment has the power, the money, the institutions. The debate now, what to do with this energy? Form a political party, back specific candidates, remain an outside pressure group holding everyone's feet to the fire. Each path has risks. Entering the system could corrupt the movement. Staying outside may limit structural change. Join the game to change the rules or keep shouting from the sidelines. Ultimately, the future of Kenya is being written in real time. The Gen Z revolution was not the end of the story. It was the explosive first chapter. It could be transformation. A generation reclaims its country. Or a tragedy. Energy crushed by an old guard. Is this permanent or just a passing season? We don't know yet. But one thing is for sure. Everyone is watching. Grab your popcorn, keep refreshing your feed, because the next episode is about to drop.